Okay, so I'm gonna keep on making these videos. Yeah, so the reason why I'm making this video is just because I feel like my artwork suffers. I feel like my artwork suffers when I'm not talking about it. When I'm just literally just drawing lines down, it becomes really arbitrary, and as a result, it suffers. I don't want it to suffer, so I'm gonna make an attempt to start to change that around, start to change that habit, and basically put a lot more thought into everything that's going on. So I think the first thing I'll start with is by getting rid of these, getting rid of this. Yeah, so basically I want this to be a cool NFT, but basically so far it seems like there's a shape around there. There's a shape starting to form around there. Whether it's the guy's, is it kidneys that are back there? But it seems to be forming some sort of shape that's kind of like this kind of circuit board type effect. And I like that. I like that effect. I like that design intent. So I'm going to try and run with that. But basically, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Up in there. Need that on that side. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. And just basically try and make sense of this. So the pen's back in force. So what am I looking at here? I'm actually looking at where you're looking at the curved body of a guy, and it's covered in all this graffiti. At the moment, I don't really want to do anything except make sure it works, make sure it looks good. So I've just drawn that line down there. Basically what I'm thinking I can do is I can make sense of that line there. Thinking I can make sense of that line. So at that point his body goes into obscurity. So he's got his belly hanging down like that, like so. And I think this thing, it looks like I'm looking at sometimes it looks like I'm looking at the bird's eye view of a building, and then at other times it looks like I'm looking at some kind of robot. So how do you reconcile the discrepancy between the two? How do you reconcile the fact that at one point it feels like you're looking at some kind of robot, and then at the other time it feels like you're looking at something else entirely? I don't know how you reconcile that just yet. No, I'm going to figure it out. The first thing is, it's a bit of a jumbled mess here. Like, especially up here where these characters appear, it's really jumbled, it's really messy. You can't really tell what's going on. And because of that, the overall artwork looks jumbled and looks messy. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, because maybe a lot more sense will be made of it at the point when things come together rather than at the point when things fray apart. That's a possibility. Just looking at this area over here, wondering what that is. I guess it's just about looking at it, recording yourself, looking at this thing for as long as it takes to make sense of it. Yeah, because it seems like this bit, that bit that's contained within this kind of, what would you call that, whisk looking thing. It seems like that bit is whole, like that bit is well designed, and then you have this bit which kind of seems to echo the whisk element of that. So I could finish that, I could bring that line down there. You see, first of all, you have to look for what works. So I've brought that down there, so maybe I could colour that in with like a, I'd say a blue-green, desaturated blue-green with a little bit of grey in there. Maybe I could fatten the brush a little bit for it. So about there, and just go along and just colour that in. Because now there's a parallel between that and that. Well, presumably, when I just clicked on that there, I had an impression occur to me that there needs to be something on this side which balances out this side. What can that thing be? I feel like there should be a space along that line. There should be a line curved along there. So I'll go in there and I'll draw a line. Then looking at it again, I mean, what does it do? Presumably this place over here is not complete. This place over here is not complete. So what I'd want to do is I'd want to come down here and maybe join that onto there. And once again, maybe I'd green that up a little bit and I'll colour it in again. That could work. I'm actually not going to upload these videos, I'm just going to delete them as I go because I can't be bothered basically to start making a load of videos and checking up on them and regulating them. So I'm just going to make them for myself. So that thing is there. Is that thing connected to this area below, like this and this? Or is it connected to above here? Is it above these two? Or does it go above here and then under there? Let's try it above here. And then say it goes under there. Because that's interesting. And presumably this thing, this stick here, would move in this direction here. Move along this axis here. So there could be a joint there. Basically a kind of ball and socket joint, which we could expand here. See, it works, man. Ball and socket joint, which we could expand here. say that this has more capacity to hold a moving part, a moving joint. And now I'm just going to go in there with a red, just for fun, I guess. Just going to go in there with a red and just darken that edge there. But yeah, this thing here, I feel like it should have some kind of, not teeth isn't quite the right word, but kind of sections cut out of it so it looks a little bit like the arc reactor from Iron Man. So I'll try that. And I think this is about as zoomed in as I want to get for now. Because going further than this, I can't see what I want to do. I'll do 20 minutes on this one, I'll delete the video, and I'll do 20 minutes on that, presumably. So yeah, let's presume that this comes along on a joint and meets that angle here. What would happen to this? Presumably there'd be some kind of slippage, or the thing would just take its carriage up there. Let's say that this section here, where I'm going to draw this yellow line, I'm going to draw this kind of like golden line. Let's say that a little bit more golden. Let's say that this section isn't always connected. That when it's not connected, for example, the current flows or the current doesn't flow. That it actually is graded down, is lowered down into that socket, and then when it's lowered down into the socket, it permits some other action to take place. I wonder what's going on with this arm. So yeah, presumably, yeah, if that were the case, then this upper bit would be connected to it, and then presumably it would have to, either it would condense down when it would concertina into a folded up shape, or it would maintain its shape. That's all I'm thinking. It would either concertina down into a smaller shape, or it would hold its shape, in which case if it held its shape, it would end up coming through, all the way through the thing and touching this edge here. So let's say it doesn't concertina down, that it's basically it's a switch basically, so that when it's touching that, it causes something to happen along here, and for that I'll draw, so it's circuitry really. That's how you have to get. It comes a point where you can't just keep on just drawing all these characters. You've actually got to make sense of things. So let's say that is connected onto there. We can show that just by using the right amount of grading. But what would the background of this thing be? I mean, is there another one in the background? What's going on here? So we know that closes up, that joint there is presumably there's some kind of like socket like this. There's a socket like that, and there's ball bearings in that socket, right? There's ball bearings in that socket, so when it rolls, this joint here, I am going to upload these videos. I'm going to upload them. I'm going to make them public. Yeah. Just because it's best to share. It's best to share this sort of stuff rather than just keeping it locked. I'll share it. Yeah, so that joint presumably comes round, but at its fullest, I mean, there's 1, 2, 3 segments at that length, so it would come 1, 2, 3 segments down to there. That seems to make perfect sense. So from this point, engineering mashup, I'll call it. So what I'll do is I'll set this up to go online. Let's check the time on this one. Oh, it kind of does need to be portrait, because otherwise it destroys what I'm trying to do. Oh, it kind of needs to be landscape, I should say, because otherwise it doesn't really work for the thing. So I've changed that into landscape. That's probably going to cause a load of problems for YouTube. It doesn't understand what I'm trying to do. Move that up there. Where was I? Over here. Let me just check the time. Yeah, about 2 minutes. Yeah, these videos don't really require a lot of explanation. It's just a matter of it being something where I feel like I can benefit from doing things a certain way. So I'm going to try that. Looking at 1 second. There's nothing available for me to post at the moment, because I've got no videos there. Yeah, so basically this area here has some kind of bearings in it, like where I'm going to draw this yellow line. I could change the channel's name. So yeah, it's got kind of ball bearings in it, and it would slip down and would go. It would basically, this would remain in the same spot. So I'll try and put something on there to show that this remains rigid.